Miami Dolphin fans, let me ask you something. Do you love the Dolphins? Do you think they are the greatest football team? How about the greatest show on surf? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, then fins up and surfs up to the greatest show on surf.shop today. Celebrate the most explosive offense in the NFL with this awesome exclusive merch. From jackets, hats, shirts, and more, they have it all. Use promo code FINSTALK and save 15% on your order. Show off your fandom. Don't wait. Go to thegreatestshowonsurf.shop today.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Yes, we're the
Good evening, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of the best, most positive Dolphin show of the internet, the Fins Bandwagon. Good evening, Dolphin fans, and all the other trolls we're going to have on here tonight. Welcome to another episode of the Fins Bandwagon. I'm your host, FinStanza. With me always is my Pops Fish Tank Hank and two special guests. You saw Courtney last week. We loved her so much. We brought her back. And Thirsty, who's been clamoring for us to come to invite him onto this show, is here tonight. How you doing, you four?
Can't complain. Can't complain.
You doing good?
Ladies
All doing
first.
good? Ladies first. Courtney, how you doing?
It's like a Christmas week for me.
It's like a Christmas miracle for you. We're going to talk about that.
We're going to Kyle Lowry and Vic Fangio within 2 days. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good too. I'm all right with it.
And Thirsty, how you been? I know you had your show this morning. So how are things been going on? What have you been talking about? I wonder.
All Dolphin stuff. 24/7 Dolphin talk is what we do.
Oh yeah. You know what I
stuff.
do? I made a separate guy before I get to Hank. There's this 8-year-old kid who plays hockey with my son, and all I say to him because guess who he's a fan of? I made a little bet with him on the weekend at our hockey tournament, and on Monday, when I saw him on Tuesday night, I go wide right, wide left, wide right. Was it wide right, wide left? I made the little boy cry. Wide right. I made the little boy cry. He was like, I go, next year we're going to a game together, buddy. It's awesome. Hank, how you been?
Yes, sir.
We haven't seen or spoken to you in a week. You've been suffering a little bit, not feeling that great, just like our Miami Dolphin fans. Maybe started not to feel after they lost, so it's pretty ironic. How you been feeling? How has been your week?
It's been a pretty exciting week. My wife and we went to the casino, and I made a couple bets.
And
so hopefully this weekend they pay off.
That's cool.
So I am betting that the Chiefs and the Lions go into the Super Bowl, or the 49ers and the Ravens.
So
So those were my two bets. Those were my two bets.
Yeah.
That
That's
either
awesome.
those two teams go in. If the Lions go in, and who else? The Chiefs go in. If the Lions and the Chiefs go in, I'll probably win about $400.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's nice.
Well, I hope
They opened the sports book betting here in Florida.
Yes,
Well, I'm
they
sure-
did.
Yeah.
That they did.
Well, I'm sure that we're going to get back to that comment about Daniel in a minute. But what's actually interesting is that the Lions are hoping and praying that Deebo Samuel, who hasn't practiced, may not practice again tomorrow. If he hasn't practiced tomorrow, the Lion fans are going to go a little crazy. They're going to be a little excited. They're going to be
I'll tell you, I'm excited for Dan Campbell. I'm excited for him as all get out. He used to be a Dolphin, so I'm excited for him definitely.
Yeah.
And he's one of those players, coaches. You could see it. I mean, he's straightforward with them. He treats them like men instead of little boys, and lets them know, we can do this. You're big boys. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So, Hank, I mentioned before about making a little kid cry. Did you feel a little bit better about the Dolphins' failures this season, watching the fact that the Buffalo Bills suffered the way that they did and choked the bed? They were supposed to win at home. This was the perfect opportunity. How did it feel? Because I haven't asked the three of you, so I'm going to ask that straight up. How good did you feel? I slept like a baby on Sunday night when they lost. Like honestly, it was phenomenal. Like I really, I don't know about all of you. Dolphins winning is phenomenal. I'm in great mood, but nothing gives me more joy than watching the teams in our division suffer. Like when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, I laughed. When Tom Brady left the Patriots, I laughed. When Josh Allen threw 16 passes behind the yard of scrimmage and was ripped on Monday, that felt awesome.
Hey, we're the biggest, according to everybody out there, we're the biggest losing team there is out there. But you know what? We didn't lose no 4 Super Bowls in a row.
No, we did not.
And
I was happy. I admitted on Twitter I was petty, and before I go, I'm rooting against the Bills. Now the Bills are out, I won't be petty. Just let the best team win. Doesn't really matter to me who wins at this point.
I used to hope
see Buffalo out
before they got rid of the Colts. I used to hope that it was somebody in our division.
Yeah.
But once they got rid of the Colts, and then New England just kept winning and winning and winning, I said, forget it, man. Forget it. You know, I hope nobody in our division wins but us anymore. So I'm Courtney, just a little biased right now.
Courtney, I never asked you, though, how did you feel about that? Like, did it give you joy or it doesn't really affect you much?
Oh, I was happy as a little clam over here. I, as a U fan, as soon as that pick went wide right, I tweeted out, "Hey, did Bass go to FSU by any chance?" So I got to piss off 2 fan bases in one tweet. So that was the time.
I truly, when that happened, I forget who it was. Was it Bobby? I think, who literally, when that crick was missed, I think his fingers were ready about Jason Sanders. I think I'll never live that one down, eh?
Right?
But no, honestly, he never. That was something else. But honestly, I put that on Josh Allen. Did you see him go outside the pocket and literally go out of bounds? Bad throw. He actually made it more difficult for his kicker. You know what I mean? So in the end, you want to know what? We've come to realize in this league right now, it's very hard to be an elite quarterback in this league. This is a positive show. Stephen Lake, making fun of other football teams is a positive thing for the Dolphins. Don't you get that?
Okay, we'll see what your take when you get to McDaniel if you stay positive. So
I will. I'm always flipping to see what I know. Okay, go ahead. The way it works on the bandwagon is that I learn from my elders. So whatever I say wrong, that's why Hank is here. Hank always puts his son back in his place, and you two will do the same tonight as well. That's why we're here. We're just all here to have a great time.
Hey, I'm just riding the bandwagon right now. You know what I mean? We might have a little bit of air out of the tires, but we got a couple pros with us. They're going to take us through this ring no matter what. So let's get the tires pumped up and rolling. What do you got for me, Evan?
We're going to start. But I must say, though, for the Miami Dolphins, the month of February is the worst month of the year because we know our general manager, who is here still, likes to do his business in March. That's when he likes to do all of his business. So it's going to be a long month of February. We're going to have to, hopefully they have more content. Like, fire someone every week, Miami Dolphin fans, so we can have something to talk about, honestly. So, Hank, we've all done shows yesterday. Sir. The big news dropped as I was leaving the office, so it worked out perfectly. We did a breaking news show that Vic Fangio and the Miami Dolphins have parted ways. We talked a lot about this at the end of the year. When you saw that news, what was the first thing that came to your mind about that decision by the Miami Dolphins and Vic Fangio and Mike McDaniel?
Well, I was watching it on either NFL channel or one of those, or ESPN when it broke, one of the two.
Okay.
And I just tweeted it out is all I did, I said, okay, there he goes. Now we're starting to play. So, we're going to get ready to do some shuffling, I guess.
Did it bother you? Were you angry?
No, I wasn't angry. I figured, we didn't have the right players that he wanted to some degree, and he made that clear with his grumblings in the beginning, okay? He made that quite clear that there were some things he wasn't happy about. Then he went through the season, and as our defense got better, he stagnated and stayed with calls that he should have started changing up, just like when McDaniel should have started changing some of the offensive plays. But, I'm a Monday morning quarterback guy. I can sit here and say whatever, and it's doesn't mean nothing. This, that, if that. But I think it's a good choice by the Miami Dolphins and Vic Fangio, because if both sides mutually broke this contract, which is what they did, there's got to be good reasoning behind it. I like the move. I didn't really see any new defense that wowed me. I just saw a defense that they kept, going deep on. So.
Okay, Thirsty. I know you've probably talked about it ad nauseum about 3 times already, but go for it. Like, now that you've had about 24 hours to let it simmer, what are your thoughts on the fact that Vic Fangio will not be the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins next year? Now he's going to be the Eagles coordinator.
Hopefully a little bit, surprised when it came, because you figure, the season's been over a little while already. I guess we survived. But obviously he didn't want to be here. Is he a good coach? That's not to be debated. He did okay. He did his job. Had us in the top 10 overall defense, 22nd in scoring defense. But to me, if you don't want to be here, even from in training camp, when they asked him, they said, if things would have worked out differently, would you have been in Philadelphia? He was basically like, yes. But most of the time coaches avoid that. And he basically said yes. So it's just, and then he handed, like Hank said, we don't have some of our guys. We don't have this. And then he's also saying, they never even asked me about working out Cam Smith in the draft process. Never asked me my thoughts on it. So obviously he was dropping hints. He'd rather have been in Philadelphia. And that's how it is. I know the Backup Bins podcast had asked, well, then why did we hire him if he knew it was not going to be long term? At the time, maybe they thought it was, and they were all in last year to win this year. We know the end story. It didn't happen. But, that's, I think, why. So I don't want a coach that doesn't want to be here, and he didn't want to be here.
Let me, before she goes, I want to premise this question. So, Courtney, when they hired Vic Fangio, were you okay with the hire?
Yes, I was on board with the hire originally.
So, what moment did it hit you that you wanted this guy gone?
When when Ramsey went out and he picked up Eli Apple, I knew right then that this was going to be a problem.
Isn't that a Chris Greer decision?
I don't know whose decision it was, but the minute that Eli Apple was on our team and then got the start, and Cam Smith, who I was so excited to see in the preseason, wanted to watch him, really they didn't develop him at all. And then he's on scout team, and that's when I realized that I didn't like Vic Fangio, and that his reputation and who he is currently no longer align, and that he's kind of living off of his reputation and kind of cruising on what he did 30 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, because when he came to the Dolphins, there was nothing. That's what I was saying too. There's nothing new going on. No, he didn't toward the end of the season. I thought there was going to be this new defense. I thought the team was learning his defense still in the beginning. And I thought that, okay, now that they've learned his defense, they're going to come up with this new stuff that he was talking about. I never saw any of it.
I think my problems with him are that he didn't want to be here. I didn't like how he toyed with the Dolphins the whole offseason. Are you coming or you're not? Are you coming or you're not? And now we all realize that was because he was waiting for Philadelphia to make a decision. And I I think then he did nothing but gripe and bitch and complain that he didn't have the players for his scheme. Okay, well, you don't have the players, so you're a guru. You've been in this for 30 years. Make a scheme that works for the players and the talent that you have. If this is our playoff push, we're trying to get it this year. He didn't. He just said, I'm going to keep running the same old thing. I'm going to complain that I don't have the players for it, but I'm not going to make any changes to help build up the players. Then I have these rookies over here that I'm just going to ignore, throw them on the scout team because I didn't draft them. So forget about them and their talent and developing them for the future. I don't care. Then, okay, the players don't know the scheme. Well, sucks for the players. This is the scheme I'm doing. Then the scheme's not working. And he's like, well, guess what? This is all you're getting. It'll eventually work. Maybe we'll eventually get it figured out. And a lot of these stats and the talent and the sacks are because we have talent on that D line. We had talent up front that could still produce things. But if you look at the scheme that was called, it was horrendous. The management was horrendous. His 2-minute drill is atrocious, Titans game. And his personnel, who he's putting in there. Nobody knows what they're doing. The fact that you're in a playoff game and I'm literally watching Jalen Ramsey yell at Elliott and Kohu because they're still I guess that'd be technically 19. They're still getting confused on what zone they're in and who's covering who and who's going where. That is a direct failure on your coach. That is coaching rules. Like the fact that it took your players an entire season to learn your scheme blows my mind because it wasn't a complicated scheme when you watched it.
Wait.
Everybody
made
knew
it
what he was doing.
because he didn't know how to teach it. That's the issue.
He couldn't teach it, but also he's been around for so long. Everybody knew what he was going to do. So guess what? It was really a game plan for our defense. Everybody knew what he was going to do.
Yeah, I don't know what his love for. I like the Cater Kohu story. Don't get me wrong. We all saw him on Hard Knocks. A great story. Him coming over, hardly ever. But he should not have been in that much. I would have rather see them give a shot at Nick Needham, give him a little bit more, try someone, because Cater Kohu should be special teams, come in once in a while. But he was playing, especially the first game where they had him on Diggs and then it changed it after Diggs owned him the first few. It's just crazy. Crazy.
Good job. So let's just clarify something about Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio, the only reason he became the Miami Dolphins coordinator is because there was all the shadiness with Jonathan Gannon and some tampering. And until that got settled, Vic Fangio didn't want to wait around. And because Mike McDaniel wanted him 2 years ago, and they were willing to make him the highest paid coordinator, he didn't come here because he wanted to be here. He came here because he saw dollar signs. Like when you're going to make $4.5 million sitting in a booth, pretending that you're actually not there on most games because I was convinced he was doing the New York Times crossword puzzle in most games because he didn't look like he was talking. He wasn't talking. He was literally drawing. Every time they show him, his face would never be up and he was never drawing. Let's make a comment before I talk about Hard Knocks. If you go look at the history of Hard Knocks, any team that does Hard Knocks fails the bed. So can we just basically have the Bills can we have a rotation of the Bills, the Patriots, and the Bills and the Jets on a running circle?
Talking about the Hard Knocks jinx.
Yeah, it's
Bills
awful.
Yeah, because the Jets were the preseason Hard Knocks and they got hurt right away from players into the season.
So the moment I knew there was threefold. The moment I lost respect for the way Vic Fangio manages defense was less about the shadowing, was the Kansas City Frankfurt game, where McDaniel always knew, because last year, if you remember, everyone, we were losing every toss and we were always getting the ball. This year, it was the reverse. We always had the opportunity to kick off. And we'd always fall behind because the defense was never prepared for football games. So we fell behind really quickly and we never recovered against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then the Tennessee game, that's when I made my prediction the season was over for the Dolphins. But as I mentioned, if that was a Brian Flores defense or if Mike Vic Fangio was down on the sidelines, which I was harping for all season, then that second touchdown never would have happened. Never would have happened if someone was there yelling in their ear, which we'll talk about.
He should have been down there on the field
exactly
with the team If he was that bad in the booth, get down there on the field with the team. I mean, you were a head coach for crying out loud.
I don't care if he has a better view.
A little bit of that wisdom that you should have picked up along the way.
And in the end, he didn't want to be here. There was no effort in the last few games of the season in December. And unfortunately, he didn't maximize his players. Because if you look in this league right now, and whether Cam Smith is going to be a great player or not, we don't know. Whether Channing Tindall's a special teamer, we don't know. But all to say is Holland didn't have a better year. For me, when you look at the league, you go watch the Lions and you see a Jack Campbell, or you see a Sam Laporta, or you see in Green Bay, you see Tucker Kraft, and you see Luke Musgrave, or you see the center for Buffalo and Tyler Lindenbaum, and you look at all these rookies who have been successful in all different aspects of the game, whether it's on defense or offense, and developing those players. He was not the right guy to have to develop these players. So if he doesn't want to be here, adios, salut, salut la visite. He's going to live near Courtney, so Courtney can bump into him at the local grocery store, and she will tell him exactly what she thinks of him.
He doesn't want to find me.
Huh?
He doesn't want to find me.
He doesn't want to find you? Okay.
I'm actually trying to sell Eli Apple to the Eagle fans, like a 2-for-1 deal.
Well, the Back It Up Fins podcast, I agree. You know, he would probably put in the effort, but sometimes it's just a hire doesn't work out. This one, obviously, he didn't want to be here after being here, and it is what it is, man. You got to move on. I'm tired of it too, Jeff. He has the Back It Up Fins podcast. Yeah. Believe me, I'm tired of it, and I want continuity. I want McDaniel to be here long term. I want coach. I know Evan has a different view of that, but that's what I said.
That's not what I said.
All right, I'm just saying. I know I've heard your McDaniel takes. You wanted him fired this year, so
okay. Let's just be clear about things. We'll go to that topic right now, and then you guys can all blast me. Okay, I won't go long. I promise. Timer. It's 22 minutes. I will stop at 23 minutes. I promise. Just kidding. Maybe 23 and a half. And then I'll let Hank go because he's going to knock me down on this. The perspective for me, and then we're going to talk about who maybe we should hire and what else is happening on the team and the coaching staff. But let's just talk quickly about why I said the show. Did they fire the wrong coach? And the reason why I did that premise is that I don't put the Vic Fangio not being successful here on Vic Fangio. I put it on Mike McDaniel. And the reason why I put it on Mike McDaniel, and you guys can go rip me to shreds in a minute, is that this is the second time in a row where we've hired a head coach who's a first-time head coach who's an expert in their area specifically, whether it's the defense or offensive side of the ball. Last season, he had Josh Boyer, who was saddled with him. He was saddled with Josh Boyer. And it didn't work out. It's not who he wanted, even though I think Josh Boyer did as much as he could with the defense because the offense was he had no one on defense last year, and he somehow made it work. I wanted him gone anyways, but it's not the point. Then you go get Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was, you already saw like you were the second or third fiddle in getting him. He didn't necessarily want to be here, but that's the prize you wanted. Then you brought in Matt Applebaum that didn't work out. But then you kept Danny Crossman when you knew he was already a disaster. You had issues in all other areas. In the end, the head coach has not been able to never take responsibility for the defense, aka Adam Gase. He leaves it to the saddle of the defensive coordinator. 2 years in a row, it has not worked. And now in his third year of head coaching, he's here. Greer's here, but you're going to be on your third defensive coordinator. And what I said yesterday, which hurts, is that who you might go get may not be who you want to get, and we'll talk about that after, because who wants to hook their saddles to a guy who, after next year, if he doesn't perform, might be gone. So for me, Mike McDaniel is AKA a version of Brian Flores, but on the opposite side. They're so concerned about their side of the ball, they leave the offense to these random people. So we had Chan Gailey, we had Chad O'Shea, blah, blah, blah. Here we have Vic Fangio and Josh Boyer. Tell me why.
All right, that's 2.5 minutes.
I'm done. Let me premise the question. I'm done.
Wrap it up.
Hank, tell me why none of the onus, tell me what your perspective is on Mike McDaniel's performance on building a staff because so far he has a lot of turnover on people we don't think there should be turnover on, but the players, the coaches we think should be fired have yet to be fired over 2 years. So give me your perspective on that, please.
My perspective is that there's been one thing in place when both of these things have happened on both the offense and the defensive side. You had the same GM both times. That's all I hear from what you've said. You described Flores, and then you described Adam Gase. Then you described McDaniel. I mean, and you described it, and they match up. And Greer was there during all the hiring of all these people. So if you ask me who's not hiring the right people, Greer should have the wisdom at this point in time to know who the right offensive and defensive coordinator should be by now. That's my opinion on it, to be honest with you. The coaches, you have somebody that's a 2-year head coach. I'm not going to sit there and drill on them too much because I'll tell you why. There was a very famous coach that was drilled on because he couldn't win the AFC championship and for the Colts. And it was my man, Don Shula. So, because he was there before Miami. Mm-hmm. So, that's where I'm at with that. So you got to give people a chance to get it done. 1 year, 2 years. Okay. Yeah. We haven't seen what we want to see yet, but I also believe it's because of other reasons. I believe it's partially because of our team and who we have on the team. I believe he's trying to make fast with an offensive line that we haven't had anybody steady in there. And you can't really run the kind of plays and do all this motion and all this stuff. And, you can do all that and put the pretty paper on it, but you still have to execute the plays. Yeah. And, if the offensive line can't execute what it's doing, the running game's going to look bad. And then the passing game, you're trying to get the ball out in under 3 seconds. And how much decision is there being made in that 2.5 seconds that you're trying to demand that the quarterback gets the ball out? So there's quite a few things I could ask myself, to be honest with you. However, it's still a second-year coach going into his third year. Is he going to be here? I think he'll still be here.
But do you put any onus, before I go to Thirsty, do you put any onus or do you have any worry that Mike McDaniel is basically separating himself from managing the DC and being the head coach and hiring a defensive head coach and not taking responsibility for the defense at all?
Yeah, I think that in the first 2 years that he's been doing this, I don't think he was ready to take on the defensive side to begin with. I think his hands were completely full with the whole head coaching job to start with. And, personnel issues and all that stuff, there's a lot to deal with. You're talking family. You're talking 52 families that you're dealing with on a daily basis. There's something going on with at least 3 or 4 of those people each day that you have to go through and find out and do and this and that take you away from what you're really, the other things you're doing too. So I'm just saying, he seems like a very hands-on coach. He seems like
will he have his hands? He never has.
What's that?
SoCal, Derek basically wrote that he'll have his hands on. He has never had. He's like, there's no sense. Like, remember how many times Thirsty have we seen that video of him walking down the sidelines to Boyer, get that effing thing fixed, right? Like, he only when things really go bad does he start to get upset. Well, if your defensive coordinator is up in the sky, how can you give him crap, right?
Yeah, also, well, somebody had mentioned on here too. There's a big age gap. Maybe sure. They didn't want Pops down there on the field with them. That could be the case too. Maybe he didn't connect. Vic Fangio was disconnected. So,
okay.
there's too many different things, but I like where McDaniel's at still. I'm not ready to throw him in the garbage yet. That's just me. There might be other people that are, but I'm good.
So Thirsty, tell me what your thoughts are on what we both had to say, and then we'll go to Courtney, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the defensive coordinator replacements and other members. But tell me your thoughts on how do you feel about the fact that every year, literally, going back to since Greer's been the general manager, going back to the beginning of Flores, if we talk about the rebuild, so after 4 years, we've had turnover at the offensive coordinator position or the defensive coordinator position every single solitary season.
Yeah,
That's pretty
and
crazy.
Same with offensive line. Hopefully this year we keep Butch Berry for two years.
Yeah.
So no, I agree. The turnover sucks. That's why I'm on the McDaniel train still. I think he's a good coach. You got to give him time. Granted, he's going to be on the hot seat. Let's face it. If you look at Ross's history, Gase had 3 years, Flores had 3 years, and if you go back to Philbin, he had 3 years and a couple games into his 4th year before they fired him and Dan Campbell became the interim coach. So his history, he's definitely going to be on the hot seat. And I agree. If they do get rid of Greer, I understand that means getting rid of my man McDaniel because they can't do half measures anymore. They have to blow up the whole thing. But I hope he wins this year. And all this is just, talking points that we laugh back at on that we were, oh my God, some people wanted to fire. I hope it becomes that because I have faith in him. He has improved. He still had some mismanagement. Yes. He's a second-year head coach. I give him this year to look forward to him coaching. And I think overall he's trending in the right direction. And I want him to be here more than 3 years. I really, truly do.
I do too. I don't want a new head coach. I just don't trust his play calling and his coaching. So Courtney, tell me what you think about.
Yeah, but you're calling him Gase for crying out loud.
Because he cares about the offense. He forgets about the defense. He couldn't care less. I literally, if I was the head coach, or I think Anthony Campanile or Dan Campbell were the head coach, after that first 2 touchdowns, after the Ravens came back, I would have gone up to Fangio and flipped him the bird twice. Okay? I would have flipped him the Dolphin bird twice. How do you do that? How could you possibly give up 14 points in the span of a minute and a half with under 3 minutes left, you bonehead? So, Courtney, how much blame do you put on Mike McDaniel for the turnover and at the coaching level? And do you have faith in him that he could find the right DC, or would you ask the front office to get an advisor or somebody who has defensive experience, who's not looking to be a head coach necessarily or come back into it, but someone who has defensive coaching experience to help Mike McDaniel pick the right coordinator for the players he knows he has in the Cam Smith, he knows in that back, Zach Sealer and Ramsey and Holland and Elliott and that group. Like, what would you do, and how much do you put on McDaniel, and what would you do to find the next coordinator in terms of support?
I don't think McDaniel has a single hand in the defense. I'm going to be honest. I think that he wanted Fangio. I think we all know that Fangio didn't really want us, but he kind of settled for us. We were like his placeholder. Like, he was like, yeah, I'll come there until what I really want opens up, which is what happened. I don't think the Dolphins had any intention of getting rid of Fangio this year until the Eagles spot opened up, and the Eagles probably contacted Fangio. I don't think the Dolphins were going to be moving on from him until Philly triggered it. I think that was the trigger, and I think it was more Fangio than the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins were fully content to just keep writing it in. I think that McDaniel hired Fangio, said, control the defense. You know what you're doing. You're the guru. I'm going to defer all of this to you. I'm going to go over here, draw up my pretty little plays, handle Tua. I'll worry about the offense. You worry about the defense. And I really don't think he had a hand in it. And I think that sometimes, and this is a hot take, people can come at me, whatever. Sometimes Mike McDaniel acts more like an offensive coordinator. And
bravo.
But he does, because he really is solely focused on that offense. When do you really hear him speak of the defense? When do you hear him?
How about special teams?
He really, I
Well, he
think,
does have a man crush on edge rushers. He says all the time.
I
He loves edge rushers.
I
So
really think that he may like them, but I feel like he is like, cool. Here's your thing. I'm better at offense. I'm going to handle this offense. And I think he just hands them off and he expects, obviously his coordinators to manage and handle their areas. And I don't think that he really has a lot of hands in the pot.
Like Mars.
Obviously, I'm not at the facility, but that's just what I've seen. That's how it feels. So it also leads me to question in the hiring process now for a new defensive coordinator, how much of a hand is McDaniel really going to put into it? Because he really was hands off on the defense itself. Does he even really know what we need for a defensive coordinator now, reputation aside? Or is he going to defer to Chris Greer? Is he going to say, Ross? Like, how much of a hand is McDaniel really going to have in there? And also, do I trust McDaniel to know what our defense needs? I'm not sure I do. Offensively, I think that he has more of a handle on that. I'm not sure how much he really knows what we need on defense. I'm not saying he doesn't know about the defense. Obviously, he's more football intelligent than I am, but I just don't know how much I trust him there. But I do blame Ross and Greer on the hiring, because it's too much half-assed of, well, I want this guy, but not this guy. And like, you need to just clean house or not clean house, because you can't pick. It's like it's like you get a jigsaw puzzle, but you're not 100% sure if all the pieces are for your puzzle. So you're just going to keep fitting them in different ways. It doesn't work. You throw it up, you go back to the thrift store, buy another secondhand puzzle, and same thing happened. And it's kind of like rinse and repeating itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like McDaniel. I mean, but sometimes I question, because he's young and he's learning, I question his ability to overall head coach everything. Sometimes I feel like he, instead of micromanaging everybody, I think that he's a little too hands off. I think that he,
But the one thing that's weird about this, I'm sure you guys have all seen what's going on in the NFL right now. So you have Dave Canales, who did stuff with Baker Mayfield that people are amazed by. He's going to go try and resurrect Bryce Young. Brian Callahan, going from the offensive coordinator position for the Bengals, is now going to go and support Will Levis. Like, you're seeing these types of coaches, people are still looking at the same concept of, let's go get the offensive guru to go build up the quarterback, blah, blah, blah. We'll see how that works out. The problem is that unless you're an experienced head coach who has if you're not Andy Reid or you're not Jim Harbaugh, you're not gonna have, or you're not, you people know, like Spagnuolo knows, and the guy, the defensive coordinator in Baltimore knows, like, you have John Harbaugh and Randy, they have an eye on you. Like, no matter what, they're there. Like, they're watching. They know what's going on. Like, here, there's a complete. That's what I'm concerned about on this team. Is there's as much. If you remember Hank, if you watch all these shows, you see all the videos. What's the one thing they say after every game? Family. Don't you find that the locker room of the players seem to be really tight, but the coaching staff is very disjointed? There's no symbiote. There's, like us, like there's a lot of chemistry here. I feel there's just a lack of connection. Like, if they were to win the Super Bowl this year,
are you trying to tell me you like me, Evan?
I love you, Pops. But no, don't you find that there was just a lack of synchronicity? I think, what's that term? Like, there's a lack of something between the coaches. And I thought Mike McDaniel, who everyone says is this guy who brings people together and is rah, 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 and is a player's coach. You never saw him and Fangio together. You never saw them, like, engaging. Like, I would expect that he'd want to hire somebody who he literally could have a beer with. Like, it's just such a disconnect. What do you think?
Who hired it? I mean, that's the question too, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess McDaniel is probably the one that pushed for him, like Courtney said. She made it pretty clear, that he probably, said, I don't want to be doing the defense, and he wasn't ready to take it on, I don't think, either. So not with everything he was trying to juggle at the time. I don't think he was ready now.
Yeah. Courtney, you were going to say?
I said I think that he wanted an experienced guy who he could hand it off to. And that's why he was pushing for the guru experience. Malloy, I will riot. How does he saw they fired
okay? Can you not steal my question, Malloy? Let me ask that question to you, Courtney, first. How is Danny Crossman still employed? Explain this to me.
Blackmail. There's no other explanation.
That's Greer's excuse. What?
He has a blackmail. He knows where a body is buried. He married Ross's grandson. I don't know. There has to be a reason that because to fire your assistant special teams coach, but not the head special team. What did the assistant do? What the heck? What? Yeah, that makes no sense to me. That's another half-assed firing. It was almost like they're like, oh crap, now that Fangio's going, we should just like fire a couple people and make it look like we're doing something.
Yeah. No, hey, you know who's going to come back and haunt us? Gerald Alexander went to the Raiders. Everyone's like, rah, rah, rah. The guy has a coach in 2 years. But Hank, tell me how Danny Crossman is still here. Explain this to me.
I can't, like Brett said, it's because of Greer.
Thirsty, explain it to me. How is Danny Crossman?
I can't explain
here?
that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't get it either. It doesn't make sense because our coverage teams aren't that great. I know returns are less and less on kickoff return, but for punt returns, we're not the best punt returns. But the coverage is what bugs me more than anything.
This is what I've always said, by the way, without this one. This is the truth. Greer, you do realize Greer's here because he has something. He has something on Ross. There's a conspiracy there.
He's got to have something.
He was in the room for one of these meetings, or he bugged Ross's office. I have no idea.
This is the last rodeo. I can tell you that. This is definitely the last rodeo.
Yeah.
And if this team doesn't do something spectacular, Mr. Ross is going to clean house.
Yeah. But
it's just that time.
Okay.
Like Rob was saying, Thirsty was saying, gonna just wipe it clean. It's about that 3-year time to do it. The only difference is we're gonna get rid of the GM this time too.
But we'll see what his wizardry is between him and McKenzie and Shore and Allen. They have to cut payroll. They have to figure that out. We're going to talk about the players in a little bit, but let's talk about the defensive coordinator opening because Crossman better be fired or else. But we're not.
Oh,
we're not
boy!
There yet. Because let's talk about the defensive coordinator. So let's go over this. There's been a lot of names speculated. I made the comment yesterday on the breaking news show, but then I also thought about it again. For me right now, the tough part about hiring the DC is who wants to hitch their wagon to the Dolphins because of the fact that McDaniel might be on the hot seat next year if things don't go well. And they're also going to look at the uncertainty of Christian Wilkins, the uncertainty of Xavier Howard, the uncertainty at the linebacker position. Maybe they want to see they'll only take the job if they get to have control of the first pick in the draft. You don't know what it's going to be. So the first person's name I want to get out of the way, and then we'll talk about who you might like, is everyone fell in love with Anthony Campanile just because of his rah-rah attitude during Hard Knocks. However, and tell me if I'm wrong, the weakest part of, and what he likes to call Cottonelle, and what we saw in the last couple games, our defensive coverage of wide receivers and our ability to get to the quarterback at the linebacker position has never been the same since Zach Thomas. That is the softest area. And now a guy, just because he got the interview with the Giants for the DC position, just because he's rah-rah, how in God's name can you hire potentially internally Anthony Campanile? Like, what would your reaction be if McDaniel goes the easy route and just hires internally? Hank, what would be your reaction to that?
I'm a team guy. And if this team hires somebody that I don't know something about, then I'd have to go research it. And I'd have to research why they were hiring. To be totally honest with you, I'd have to really research that one. I don't have a good answer.
And you could give some of the linebacker the talent level. Yes, you can say he can coach them up a little bit or something like that, but it's not like we got talent oozing out of the linebacker position.
No, but
So
what are your thoughts? Like, if they go that easy route and just hire internally, like, do you think that's the right way to go?
No.
Kirsty?
I'm kind of like Hank, and I'm a team guy. They would have reason to do
That
it.
doesn't excite me much. See, you answered my question. The fact that I'm a team
Who
guy,
who would excite you to say or
No,
that
okay,
even
we'll get to
zero?
that. Don't go to the next question yet. Stop jumping the gun.
I'm just saying, there's not a name on those lists I saw other than maybe Eva Zero. I can't even say his name. They say he had some good
Evo Jero. Okay,
but
but Courtney,
no one.
Courtney will give me a straight answer. Courtney, if Anthony Campanelli was the guy tomorrow, you found out they hired him, your reaction would be?
I would be waiting for when we blow it up because we're not making to the playoffs.
Thank you. There we go. See, simple answer. Thank you. Always on my side.
Okay. I gave an Evan type answer, so what can I say?
An Evan type answer, please.
Mike McDaniel being so
A
hands-off
2-minute answer.
and not a defensive guy, I don't think we can throw in another. I don't think we can have two young guys on the coaching staff. McDaniel doesn't have a grasp on that defense, so we can't have
We don't know what our defense is.
What?
We don't know what our defense is.
Right.
And-
So McDaniel's not going to help it because he's only on the offense. I think we need somebody with at least a little experience.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I wouldn't be. Obviously, I would have to ride with him, but I wouldn't be happy about it, and I would be waiting for the implosion of everybody.
But I just want to get back to something you guys said earlier in the show, which was actually.
Well, hold on a minute. Let me ask you something, Evan. Who do you want Miami to go after?
We're going to get to that question in a minute. Let me go back a second. I'll answer that
No,
question.
because I don't want you to come ask me. I want to ask you.
We're going to. I'm building up to that. I just want to bring something up quickly.
See, that's the point. You either have to give me the script, or you have to let me know what's going on. That's what we do on the bandwagon.
We go crazy. Who posted that?
I put it up there.
Oh, you're awesome. That's awesome. We're going to get there. No, before we do that, remember Courtney said something before. Can we just remove that for a second before we get to that? I want to ask you guys a question. Then we're going to talk about who we want and who they should go get. You talked about the Fangio scheme being too complicated.
Yeah.
That happened also on the offensive side of the ball also. That's why other players never adapted to the offense who came on the team midseason. Why it was so confusing last year. Don't you find that the Miami Dolphins have overcomplicated this? Like, they need to stick with they have to make next season very simplistic. Like, go with the strength of your team, but stop overthinking this. Do you not agree that
it's the third year? It's the third year.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be anybody on that offense that's confused other than the offensive line.
Yeah. Okay. So who do I want to hire? So you can put up the graphic for a second, Thirsty. We can go over this, and then I'll ask a couple questions. You want to put up your graphic?
Yeah, I will. I was in comments. I got to go back to Brian.
He's too slow. So the couple of people names that have been out there are Anthony Campanelli. Chris Richards was interviewed last year. Sean Desai was interviewed last year, former coordinator of the Eagles, who then got pulled upstairs. You have Brandon Staley. You have Ronaldo Hill, who's another internal hire, and you have Ejiro Ivero, who's been interviewed for a few head coaching positions. You can remove that now.
Okay.
In my perspective, and I'll give my perspective, and then all of you can give their perspective. I want the coordinator. The problem for me is we all got nervous with the defense that Boyer played because it was too aggressive. Then you have we hated the Fangio style defense and we all said it because it was a bend not break, but it was so prevent, it was putting us to sleep and it was frustrating us. So a lot of these guys, whether it's Desai or Staley, whoever, they come from that tree. So for me, in the end, I want the coordinator who is going to challenge, who has had the most success against a Tua-style offense as much as possible. Meaning that people who have frustrated McDaniel, people who have pissed off McDaniel, people who are going to drive the offense nuts so they can be better than the shit that we saw last season in the month of December, that's the guy I want. So do I like Brandon Staley? No, but he was able to solve Mike McDaniel's offense somehow, some way. He does have experience as a head coach. He's young. For me, Anthony Campanelli, Ronaldo Hill, no thank you. Chris Richards, I'll be okay with. Sean Desai, I'll be happy with. Those three guys, I'm okay with. The experienced guy, Wink Martindale, Rex Ryan. The reason I don't want that is I don't want someone who's going to own the defense. I want someone who is going to be able. If Thirsty wants this team to grow and wants this McDaniel to be here for a while, he needs to have his partner on the defense. 2 years ago, he was saddled with somebody. This year, he hired his father or his sleepy uncle who falls asleep because he has too much red wine at dinner. I don't know. But Mike McDaniel has to get someone who has the same things in common as him, and they have to find a way to be unified. That's what we need. My dream would be a Robert Saleh. The Jets, go fire him, please. But I said this yesterday. Aaron Rodgers, wake up tomorrow, be in a bad mood, saying you don't like Robert Saleh. He pissed you off. You want Nathaniel Hackett and bring Robert Saleh here. That would be a dream. But that doesn't happen. And then if it doesn't work out, hire him. I don't know. But all to say, that's what I want. Hank,
anybody else you want to fire along your way?
Hank, what was your first gut when you heard it was fire and you saw the names? Who in your mind is the right fit for you for this defense?
You know, there are some big red flags with Brandon Staley. I mean, you know, he got fired midway through and all that. You know, it was kind of an ugly thing. However, he matches up, like you said, he would match up well with Mike McDaniel and what Mike McDaniel's trying to do, unfortunately. So I would say Brandon Staley out of that list. I would say Brandon Staley right now, but there could be somebody else, like you said. You know, not so much the Jets head coach, but there could be somebody that was awesome. There could be somebody that's gone that we could pick up still.
And Brent has said what I've been saying. I wish the Jets had fired.
That was me yesterday. Stop stealing my thunder. Jeez.
Oh, I said it. I predate you.
And by the way, I'm even wearing blue and red, just like you. You're wearing Boston Red Sox, but I went to this really cool Ivy League university this past weekend. I went to St. Lawrence University. Very cool place. Very cool place. Thirsty. Wait, who are you? Beautiful palm tree, my favorite tree in the world. Thirsty, tell me your thoughts. Like, what after you've had it, let it simmer for 24 hours, who is your gut telling you?
I think they may go in-house, actually, and I know that's not going to make people.
Who do you want?
But who do I want? I want that, like, I can't say his name. The last one on my list, they're the Evers. Just because I was reading, and he's done okay with not that much talent. Him in Carolina, he is from the Shanahan tree. I know some people don't want that. But, you know, I think he might be a good fit. Or Desai. Those are the two names that I wouldn't mind being. Desai or Evagero, however you say his last name. Those are the two I would like, but I just have a feeling they may go in-house.
Courtney?
None of those names.
Rex Ryan.
No, Rex Ryan. I should have put Rex Ryan
on
the list.
Why? Rex Ryan has not coached for years. So why would you bring him back?
It's Rex Ryan. I like his defensive scheme. I think that he has a good football mind. I think he has a good vision of the field. Is he a douchebag? Yes. Does he like feet? Yes. I heard it all. Doesn't take away from his talent.
He's a good coach.
Right. And I don't think that he would leave his cushy job. And I think he wouldn't go anywhere for less than a head coach, but I do know that he would really like to get back on a field. So, two, who no one talks about, I would like Pettin. I think he's out there. I think he
Where was he recently? Where was he before? Doug Pettin. Where was he before?
I keep saying but it's wrong. Because I keep getting him confused. But he was just at
where he was.
Mike Pettin was just with he's been everywhere. Vikings, Packers.
Oh, so a guy who can't find who can't find a home.
Anyway, and my third would be if nobody picks up Vrabel, I would like to bring him in as our DC.
You really think he would do that though?
If he doesn't pick him as a head coach, if all the slots get filled, he might. I think that might be the time to get him. If it happens, I have a feeling we're going to do something stupid, like go in-house and get Ronaldo Hill because he was, the underling of Fangio or Campanelli. I think we're going to go do something stupid like that.
Thank you, Brett.
But I like Vrabel, Pettin, and Rex Ryan. I think they are the three that have the best experience. I like their their coaching style. I like their knowledge of the game. I don't want to decide because the Eagles have been a horrendous train wreck for a few seasons now.
It was his first year there. Remember that.
And look what he did this year.
He was, but the defense but I don't think he was ever given any control there because Patricia. It was a weird situation there. Also, they didn't want him there to begin with. He was also a placeholder, right? Like he never fit.
I don't want to just switch with the Eagles. Like, well, cool.
That is true.
Like, let's just swap back. Like, no.
Yeah.
But those are my three, and but I do think whoever we get needs to have experience because I don't trust McDaniel. But yeah, everyone's hating on my Rex Ryan take, but I'm telling you right now, I'm
not hating on it.
I celebrate it. I don't think he was a great head coach, but if you look at his pedigree, and I like the old school steel curtain, no name defense.
You have to but you have to have the roster to be able to do that, right?
The roster, but look at our roster this year. It's pretty depleted. So whoever comes in defensively, depending on who we bring back, salary cap wise, they might be able to fill the roster with some of their talent to fill in if they want. But I like an aggressive defense. I don't like the soft zone. I don't like the. So
you want a Josh Boyd? You want to be aggressive?
I don't want to cover zero blitzing every play. But I like an aggressive physical defense. I don't think if I see Kader Kohu and Duke Riley try to ankle tackle somebody again, I might go on the field myself and just properly wrap a tackle.
If that's the case, then you're hoping that Greer trades back on that first round draft pick then, because we're not going to have enough people. If they have to fix this offensive line and they have to fix the secondary and they have to fix the linebacker.
He's going to go trade. He's going to go trade. He's going to make a big splash.
Yeah, he's going to have to trade something because we have 2 picks and that's basically. Don't be
surprised that, honestly, if he knows, I think Fangio is being tough as much players. Okay, let me ask you that question before we get DC because I'm going to forget about it. What was your reaction to the kicking rocks of Javon Holland? Like the fact that the players seem to be ecstatic about the fact that Vic Fangio did leave. How do you feel about players exerting that exuberance in public about the fact that their coach is no longer there?
I think it speaks volumes for what was going on behind the scenes that we all kind of saw. The defense, they weren't cohesive. The unit didn't make sense. Other than Wilkins and Steeler, salt and pepper, it was a train wreck. People, you could see them fighting on field with each other, yelling at each other on the field. Like that was not a unit that was working. And I think that starts at the top. And there was a lot of issues there, but I'm also not surprised because I saw the writing on the wall. You knew that there was tension in that building. And I think that them coming out and saying it kind of just reinforces that Dahl was right all season.
But I don't really think it was anyone saying he was.
Let them all know out there. Tell them.
I think it was all about scheme, and they were complaining because I talked to someone that has someone, I don't want to say any names. Courtney probably knows. I'm trying to avoid who I was talking to, and said that they didn't put some players in. And that upset them, and it was very. If you got
give me a G, give me a G.
Is it give me a G? Hope. What?
Is his first letter G?
No.
Okay, not that guy.
Yeah. No. So, but anyway, my biggest hint. Courtney had her on a show one day. But anyway, okay. But all right. But I don't want to name names. So, but anyway, and they were saying that's the main reason. Player, nothing about because. This particular player likes tougher, harder coaches, but their complaint about Fangio was that he was he would never change up. He would stick with his thing no matter what. And you can even hear when Ramsey got interviewed during the couple of times, he would be like, you could tell he didn't come out and say it, but when they asked him, are you going to shadow? He's like, oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
You could see like if he wanted to say no, because this old man won't let me, but he couldn't say it. So he just kind of, he did the team thing, being the veteran star that he is. He answered in a diplomatic way, not to throw your team under the bus during a playoff push. So, but you can tell
it's obvious there was a dynamics there that wasn't working between him and the team.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
it was as plain as day, in my opinion. Like you're saying, people didn't want to say, where a lot of times you get a cornerback, they're usually, or a safety, they're going to say, yeah, I'm going to shut down whoever or whatever. They like to chatter. So, but you
Right.
got none of that. You got reserve and quiet, and which is kind of unusual. So.
You need a guy like Crazy Dolphin saying, you need a guy, I truly believe, who's willing to work with the young players. Because what's the point of drafting defensive players if you're not going to play them? When's the last time, except for Christian Wilkins and Javon Holland, because they came in the rebuild and they had nobody, because Brian Flores would literally sign a guy on Tuesday and have him play on Sunday. Like, that's how it was. So when you had nothing to lose, when, like, your Red Sox, you guys were down in the dumps and you guys were doing great, you'd play your young players. Who cares? You want them to learn. This wasn't the year for it, but we need to get it. But because you need to have a young defense to balance out the heavy contracts of the other players, you need to try to develop them. And other teams have been able to make that work. So you better find a way to make that work, or what's the point of hiring that guy? The one point that somebody made earlier is that Jalen Ramsey, who is the true captain of the defense, he loves Brandon Staley. He was there with him with Sean McVay and the Rams. He was very successful. And as Bobby said yesterday, some guys are just meant to be coordinators and aren't made to be head coaches. That's a Norv Turner mindset. That's there's just a mindset that exists. So for me, I just want somebody who has been successful against our offense, who could drive McDaniel nuts and force him to do things differently, and at the same time be able to develop players. But let me ask you something. If the offensive coordinator comes in and says, I'm okay, I don't need Christian Wilkins, I don't think he fits, will that bother you, Hank?
No, that wouldn't bother me.
Thirsty?
No.
You're okay to see him go?
It's debatable whether or not they're going to pay him to begin with. So
no, it wouldn't bug me because it's his call, his job. He has to know better than we know. So it wouldn't bug me.
And you, Courtney?
I'd be a little concerned.
What if the guy came in and said, I'll only get the job if X is on the other side of I need X on the other side. Will you? And it's not, if it's Sean Desai and Sean Desai says X is staying, I want X, I need X, will you forgive Sean Desai for what he did in Philadelphia?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, just thought.
As long as X, we all know I would sell a child to keep X on this team.
But that means Cam Smith won't get a time to play.
Yeah, but Cam Smith's not my guy. It's X is my guy.
Well, just making sure. But he will be your guy if X leaves, right?
Smith has the opportunity to become my guy if X leaves. My loyalty is to Xavier Howard and Xavier Howard only.
No, but Brett, we admit, let's be all very clear, none of us are Chris Grier people. We do believe there's a lack of talent on this football field. I do know that if we go get a Derrick Henry on March 13th, or is it March 3rd? I can't keep on getting confused. I think Brett will maybe forgive Chris Grier for one more year. I think we'd all forgive him if he got Derrick Henry, because you wouldn't have to necessarily fix the offensive line all that much. But overall, by the way, how long do you think this is going to be a slow process, Hank, that we might know who our DC is by the end of the month? Or do you think this is going to be a slow footing where they just interviewed this guy, they interviewed this guy, like the Atlanta Falcons interviewed, I think, 12 people. I think something like that, like a dozen people for their head coaching position, including Vrabel, including Belichick, and ended up with Raheem Morris. So what do you want this to be? Just go with your gut, or do you want them to slow put this and interview, or just go with your guy?
I want them to do exactly what they're doing right now, which is going through the different candidates before they interview them. They're sitting there trying to figure out who they want at this point in time. And they'll probably have a list that we don't know of, a list of people that they're going to sit there and go down and talk about. And when they figure out who that is, great. I couldn't tell you. It could be Joe Knucklehead from Michigan State, for all I know.
Joe, I like that. I like that knucklehead guy, But hey, No, I agree with you. There's no reason to rush it. Football season along, this football season for some teams haven't even ended yet. So there's no reason to rush it. Now you don't want to start, the seats start running out and then you're playing musical chairs getting the leftover. So you do want to
Yeah.
get a little bit of aggressive, but there's no rush. One thing that Brett brought up that I say all the time, Miami fans love their coaches in the beginning. It's a little honeymoon, but by year 3, it's an ugly divorce. Everyone's hating them. Everyone's saying they have to be fired because it's just continuing. You know, the what's the name of the movie? Groundhog Day. It's the Miami Dolphins are Groundhog Day. Every 3 years, you can guarantee they want the coach to be fired. It's just how it goes.
I have a question.
So it's crazy.
Do we think that maybe they haven't hired anybody because they want somebody on one of the 4 leftover teams, waiting to see if somebody gets fired at the end?
That was one of my guesses, that perhaps Mike
Good question.
McDaniel. I said this yesterday briefly, that perhaps Mike McDaniel is waiting to go pick off the tree of the San Francisco 49ers. Like maybe there's someone there in that scheme, because every year the 49ers that's where people go get their coaches. So maybe he sees somebody he knows there that is the linebackers coach or the assistant defensive assistant or something. I don't know who they are. I'll probably do some research on that. But no, I have a feeling that could be it. That could very well be that he's waiting. You're a good point. You guys, would you be okay with that? Because I don't think he's going to the Ravens. I don't see anybody on the Lions necessarily. He doesn't have any real connection there. He doesn't have any connection on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs don't really have. You really only know Spagnuolo. You know Reed. Everyone else there is just like fodder. So it really would be the 49ers if it's anything.
I'd like somebody from the Ravens though too. I mean, they're killing it this year, but.
That's Mike McDonald, right? That's McDonald, right? Is that Mike McDonald?
Daniel, you're 100% right. And believe me, I grew up in the Don Shula era. So it pains me to see this organization become what it's become, a joke. Every 3 years we hire. It pisses me off. Sorry. That's about as bad as word I say on here. But it pisses the heck out of me that, that we've become a joke of a franchise over the year. It just really pisses me off. So, that's where I am.
Oh, aspirin bottles.
I think they're
my
awesome.
grandmother used to tell me.
Yeah, so let me ask you something, guys. We've gone over an hour and 6 minutes, and shame on me. Me or Thirsty have yet to say, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're brought to you by Caneswear, which you'll see at the end. The greatest show on surf.shop. We were not so much the greatest show on surf.shop this season, but that is what it is.
Anthony, there's no link tonight. We're about to end. This was just a little in-house thing we all decided to do.
We're not done yet.
Okay, I know, but I'm just saying I don't think we're dropping links tonight, you said.
No, we'll drop a link next week probably. Hopefully they fire another coach so we have more to talk about. But let me ask you, so to this morning, we got the alerts of the fact that all the awards got announcements got out, and that Dolphins got nominated in 2 places. I think the fact that Devon Achane I understand he didn't play, he missed some games. The fact that the guy had the greatest average per yards in the history of the NFL, still had 800 yards, isn't on the Rookie of the Years, I think is actually the biggest knock. He should have actually been nominated. But the fact that Tua is on the Comeback Player of the Year and that Tyreek is on the Offensive Player of the Year, my prediction is neither will win. You guys, does that disappoint you? Should there have been more players, or that's what you expected? What are your thoughts on the 2 nominations for the Miami Dolphins? Hank?
Great. Sounds good. We didn't win.
Good. And you, Thirsty?
They deserve to be in there, and as always, the Dolphins players are going to get slighted. So it's the way it is. Until we win something and prove that we can do something, just like the Detroit Lions, until we become the Detroit Lions of the AFC East, we're going to still be talked about as one of the worst teams and all this other stuff. So it's just the way it is.
Listen, we haven't won a playoff game since 2000, so you got to go earn respect. It's not given, and you just got to go out there, and it is what it is, man. What can I say?
Courtney, does it not really affect you? Does it surprise you? Do you even care?
Justice for Devon Achane. I think that
Nah, he got screwed.
that's the only one that would really annoy
Yeah,
me.
bothered me.
Because I think that
Yeah.
he absolutely is phenomenal, and I think that he deserves some recognition. Tua and Tyreek, neither are going to get their award. I don't really care if they do or they don't, but that HN one kind of bothers me.
Yeah, young players should get something when they deserve it.
Especially when they're breaking, they're having these like records, and I don't agree with it. But again, I don't get a vote.
How ironic though, outside of this, the lead story on my feed is whether Tyreek Hill actually got divorced. Like, who cares, guys? Like, this, like
Yeah, that's
honestly,
personal stuff. I don't care about that stuff.
no, but what nonsense?
Care less.
I know what nonsense is that coming up on Dolphins feeds. Like, who
Just
cares?
personal life.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Exactly. Any final words? Any final topics that you guys want to talk about before we call it a night?
No. G-Man, it's not. I have to look down at comments, G-Man. He thinks I'm falling asleep, but I have to look at what the comments
He's
are
so
saying.
excited. He can't. No, he's just in shock, G-Man, that we invited him on the bandwagon. That's why.
Yeah,
He's
there you go.
Honestly.
Yeah, there you go.
Who cares, G-Man? Who cares? Jesus, who cares? No, but I just find it a little ridiculous that that's what people are talking about. In the end, the person who had the best week on the Miami Dolphins was Tua Tagovailoa because no one talked about him. He got a free week off. None of us are talking about him. Like no one's worried about him. No one cares about the offense and how bad they were. It's phenomenal. Focus on the defense. For me, the toughest part for me heading into the end of the month is the fact that we have to wait another month for things to start really happening. So I don't mind if they fire a coach a week. If they want to fire Anthony Campanile, go to the Giants so we can talk about the new linebacker hire. Danny Crossman, get fired, please, so we can talk about the new special teams coordinator, and that so Dahl can come on here and talk about how much she wants Devin Hester. Like, but Raheem Morris, I don't think is letting him go, by the way.
Devin Hester.
Yeah, you don't know who Devin Hester is?
Is he available?
No, but she'd like him. Ross will
Yeah,
play
I know
anybody.
who Devin Hester is. Chicago Bears, yes.
The phenomenal best kick returner in the NFL history. That's for sure.
I would love to bring him down.
Oh yeah, exactly. No. Honestly, we just have to. But by the way, I asked this in the background before we go. How surprising it for you that how the coaching carousel has worked out so far? That the top guys, the people that people said were going to be A1, number one, first two people were going to be hired, are still looking for jobs, and they sort of want. Belichick is not interviewed with the Commanders, even though, that's where I think he should go, because I think Josh Harris needs to revamp that team. And then I don't want him there, but that's where I think he should go. And that Dan Quinn will probably end up in Seattle. So Vrabel without a job, Belichick potentially without a job. Like, how surprising is that for you three?
Well, I'm happy Belichick's without. I hope he doesn't get it. So my man Don Shula stays the number one. I know, petty. You can call me petty. I don't care. I'm petty all day long when it comes to Don Shula. I do not want Belichick to get a job.
You do realize that Don Shula
yes,
won nothing for 20 something years before you left. For 24 years, he won nothing. You do realize
Listen,
that.
he got
I'm worried about,
he got a Super Bowl with David Woodley as his quarterback, sir, and Don Strock coming in.
By the way, they were better in 73 than 72.
There will be no Don Shula slander on what I'm here. I will cut
amazing steakhouse. It was a great steak.
Wow, Bob's kind of turning into me with X. Look at you.
Hank?
Remember, I have the power to hit in.
Your thoughts on the fact that Vrabel and Belichick?
It's simple. Vrabel's easy because he might become our DC. So
you really think so? I don't think he would take that type of job unless they pay him $10 million.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility. You never know.
And Courtney,
rolling the dice.
What are your thoughts on the fact? Are you surprised? Let me ask you: are you surprised those two haven't been nabbed yet?
I'm a little surprised by it, but I think that the league is going younger and more innovative, more fresh faced. So not as much, but I definitely thought for sure that Belichick to Atlanta was like a done deal. That surprised me the most, but I wouldn't mind seeing Belichick go do like an NFL analyst type thing, like a little cushy.
Him and Brady in the booth.
Yeah,
Him and Brady both in the booth.
him and Brady can do their own version of like the Manning cast.
Yeah.
And then I mean, if Vrabel's available, I'd like to nab him up for defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins.
You know what I would do? I'd hire Vrabel as my head coach, demote Mike McDaniel to my offensive coordinator. That would work for me, and let Vrabel call the defense because he knows how to do both, unlike our head coach.
I don't think that'd be great, but
That'd be awesome.
that's
Yeah, like no one ever, once you get, no one's going to take a demotion within their team in the same
I'm saying
year.
that'd be awesome.
I
That
know.
would be my Christmas.
but
So, Hank, you said before
Yes,
that you
sir.
might have a little bit of a parlay. So let me ask you guys, because I don't know if you'll help do these predictions on any of the shows the rest of the week. What Super Bowl would excite you the most? And who do you think is going to win? But wait, what Super Bowl do you want? What Super Bowl do you want? But what Super Bowl do you think you're going to get?
I want the Chiefs and the Lions. I think I'm going to get the Ravens and the Niners. And that's how I placed my bets.
Ditto. So you don't even have to ask me, ditto, what he just
Go
said.
for it, Courtney.
I want the Ravens and the Lions. But I think I'm going to get the Ravens and the Niners as well. But I think, I don't know. I would really I'm really rooting for the Lions because I just like, if we couldn't get it, then we might as well.
No, I like the Lions, but they'll just have one thumbing up on the Miami Dolphins.
Also, I love Eminem. So, I would like to see Eminem up there enjoying himself. I think that the poor city of Detroit deserves this. And
Who's Wayne Fonts? No, guys, you already know what's going to happen. It's going to be Andy Reid against Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be the same old.
It's not because the Chiefs are not good this year.
Excuse me. Let me explain you something. The Lamar Jackson is not getting to a Super Bowl. He is not getting to a Super Bowl because I don't need to hear Brett Lagasse say that we should have gone to get Lamar Jackson 2 years ago. Like, I don't need to hear this. Lamar Jackson going to Super Bowl. And also, if I see John Harbaugh dance one more time, I'd rather see Andy Reid eat a cheeseburger. Honestly, I can't watch that anymore.
Well, how about Andy Reid on the side with his frozen boogers on his face?
He's not going to experience that again. That was disgusting, but still.
Like, come on, man. Trim that, cut that thing already.
Well, let me just tell you one thing. In the end, I think if they get what they want, you do know that that's what they want. They want those two markets in there. For the benefit of the NFL, they want Chiefs 49ers. They want that. They want their biggest star in Patrick Mahomes, and they want the 49ers. They're the darling of the NFC. So that's what they want.
But what's funny,
I told you who I
the
want.
Ravens absolutely blew out both the Lions and the 49ers. I mean, just like spanked them. I know the regular season.
They don't know what they're getting with Patrick Mahomes. If you go look at how he played against the Bills, he was great.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I know. Oh, no.
The Chiefs defense,
if it becomes the Ravens.
Steve Spagnuolo's defense is going to drive him bananas.
If the Ravens do make it to the Super Bowl, do you think it's a blowout like they did in the regular season, or those teams do some tune-ups?
I think it's going to be close, and then it's going to expand a little bit after the half.
The Ravens are going to win. They're going to win the Super Bowl. They're going through. But
the Ravens.
Mark my words. Mark my words.
Their last game is Sunday. Their last game will be Sunday.
No,
Lions.
The Chiefs are not the Chiefs of past. Mahomes is still the best quarterback.
They keep on saying, but here they are in the 6th straight AFC championship. The Chiefs aren't.
As long as you don't give the ball to McCole Hardman, you're good.
And I think the Chiefs.
Well, I wish we had taken a step back like the Chiefs and be in the AFC championship game.
Can you imagine, by the way?
We don't have
I know, Courtney. This is all fun, but man, I'm tired of us not liking other teams and I want to be rooting for our team.
By the way, you want to know why they want this? Why they want the Chiefs? Because if the Chiefs make it, they do know that Taylor Swift is going to crash the halftime show.
You do know that Taylor Swift the day before has her own concert in Tokyo, so she may not even make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, she'll make it. The Concorde is you remember the Concorde? The Concorde airplane is waiting for her in Tokyo. They're going to revamp that thing from 30 years ago. Hank probably was on one 35 years ago. and they're going to vulture there in 3 hours. I'm telling you.
The
Well, I'm still
Lions,
amazed that she gets around so quick. I'm like, I thought she was supposed to be on tour, but yet she's at every game. Must be nice having those private
No, she
jets.
was
And
on a break from tour. She took like a break
Where-
and then she started the international leg. I'm a Swiftie.
Oh, okay.
What show am I
Where
on?
am I getting the money to fly around on that thing?
Has her own
35
jet.
years ago.
I know.
Has her own jet, so she can do whatever she wants. Has her
Hank, I was propping you up,
Yeah, I
Hank.
know.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
Hey, more
even
power. I
afford
would
it
have my
now.
own jet too. If I had that kind of money, I have my own jet too. So
Yeah.
I want. Yeah, but think about it this way: if the Lions get in, we can see Eminem, and Usher's already the halftime, so Eminem could
By the
do
way,
another.
I
thing.
just wanted, honestly, that guy who's been a season ticket holder for 66 years, like that guy is one
that's
committed
Kane.
fan.
That's a dedicated fan.
That
right
is
there.
a dedicated fan. Honestly, that's incredible. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thirsty, don't forget to check out his channel. You'll see Courtney everywhere. You'll see Hank this Saturday on Fins Talk Today, the star of Fins Talk Today with his sidekick, whatever his name is. I'm just kidding, Brett. Bobby. I'm just kidding. Because we wouldn't be here without with Bobby Munson. But he's yet to drop. He hasn't watched our show. How can you believe that? We never miss an episode of Fins Talk Today, but this guy never shows up for the bandwagon. I'm telling you. What a shame. Anyways, any final words from the three of you before we call it an evening?
Ladies first.
No, I'm just living my best life. I look forward to seeing who we pick up. I've transitioned over to the Miami Heat now, and they are letting me down. So it's really just.
But you got rid of Twinkie Boy. It has to be a beautiful day. The fact you got rid of Twinkie Boy, it must be a great day.
Tired of Lowry.
Bye, Kyle Lowry.
I'm happy about that. I like Rozier. I think he's a fantastic pickup. And yeah, so I'm living my best life. They're letting me down right now, but I can't boo the Red Sox. I don't follow baseball, so.
By the way, we're going to have a great show called On Deck on the Finstock Sports Network talking baseball this season. I'm sure Thirsty and I will jump on that show too, because me and Thirsty do every sport. Actually, he doesn't do Thirsty. I'm going to bring you on What the Puck at one point. I'm going to start that show again.
I don't do hockey.
You don't do Panthers? Come on.
I only do baseball and football. So I do. I want to go to a Panthers game. They're so close to my house here.
It's
but
great. It's a great experience.
I've been to a Montreal Canadian game in Montreal, and I have been to a Panther game, but it's
shame on you. Hank, any final words? Or
no, I just want to thank everybody for coming out, and I want to thank our two guests for joining us. It made it a lot more fun, especially because I didn't have to just listen to Evan the whole time. You know,
that was my plan the whole time. That was my plan. You guys are welcome back here next week as we talk about the firing of Danny Crossman and hopefully the hiring of a new defensive coordinator.
Yes,
the Dolphins have to keep us going with something. The last thing I want to do is talk about ripping Tua and Chris Greer for another week. That would be awful. So, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we always like to say, fins up.
Go Chiefs and Lions. Fins up.
Go Ravens.
Hey, Miami sports fans.